Okay, this will be initial startup and programming of the GPS. So this can be done before engine start, just to save some time. Essentially, we want battery switch on, and we can turn on one of the two avionics switches. This avionics switch 1 will power both the G3X right there, as well as the Garmin 650, so you can program the system that way and minimize the amount of battery being used. So the system will boot up, standard Garmin, touch screen to continue. If you don't, it'll continue on its own. We'll get the spinning wheel here, the AHRS alignment. This is your opportunity to check databases. The G3X is typically not kept current. That's a VFR database, but the Garmin 650 does stay up to date. So you can see there all the databases are current as of this filming, so you can hit continue. This is an opportunity to program the fuel on board. We don't really do that for a training flight, so we'll go ahead and hit continue again. On this display, press enter to accept, so enter right here. And that's essentially it for getting the system operational. The G3X will take a few minutes for the AHRS to align, so that's normal to have the 3 X's. Those will go away. And now we get to the typical mission, which is the ILS, for example, to Hampton Roads, runway 10. So, procedure button, approach. It already knows it's at Hampton Roads. If it doesn't, you would put Kilo Papa Victor Golf or whatever your location is. And by the way we're programming it now is the same way we would do it in flight. So now we select our approach. In this case, we want the ILS to runway 10. We'll select that. The transition is vectors right now. We do have the option to select the different points, but for now, we'll go to vectors. That's the method that I prefer because it gives you more options. Then we'll hit the load activate button, and there it is. So you can see it's got the multiple initial approach fixes as well as the final. So there's Ubcook, UBIV, runway 10, and the rest of the approach to include the missed approach procedure. So at this point, normally on our first training mission, we'll go through Ubcook. So we need to re-step the GPS to go to Ubcook. So to do that, we'll just touch Ubcook, hit the direct hard key, and then the activate. I always like to come back to the flight plan, so I'll go to home and flight plan. And you can see now we're navigating to the correct point. We always want to come up and check the G3X and make sure that these two are talking to each other. So for the bottom display, on an approach, you'll be in the CDI mode like is depicted right here. However, when we're flying around getting vectored onto the approach, or if we're just navigating, I like the map. So that's one click on this knob right here. One click to the right, and we can range in and out. So in this case, I will range out, and what I want to see are those fixes. And you can see right there, there's UBIV, and if I range out again, Ubcook. So now I can start to build SA as to what's happening. And if I scroll in a little bit more, see if you can see that, you can actually see that it's drawn a course reversal for us. And you'll see that in flight when you're over that area. So now we know that these two displays are doing their thing. So like I said, we like to fly around here. Range is your discretion. But as we get vectored onto the final approach course, we'll want to take that one click to the left, and now we have our appropriate CDI. Now in this case, the Garmin was smart and it automatically switched to green needles, okay? Localizer information. It doesn't always do that. In this case it did, but it's up to you to make sure for an ILS you have green data. How can we switch back and forth? Well, we do that here. So in order to do that, there's a few different ways to do it. I go to the home menu, default nav, and I would select the CDI button. In this case, you can see on the bottom of the display, it's VLOC. So that's what we want. If I wanted to do a GPS approach, I'd go through the same loading procedure, but now I would need to come here and push the CDI button, magenta data there, magenta data there. So just as a review, that CDI button is going to switch you back between green data, ILS, or magenta data, GPS. In between each approach, we want to reload those approaches. So let's say we just went missed on the ILS. I'm going to come back to the home screen. I'm going to press Procedure. Select the approach we want. In this case, I want to do the RNAV 10. We'll select it, we'll load and activate. Same process again, SESG and PFOC. A lot of times we'll go through SESG. How can we restep the GPS to do that? We'll select SESG, hit the direct hard key, hit the activate button. Magenta data. I like to have the flight plan up on this display. There's SESG. I'm going to go to the G3X, one click to the right. And there you can see PFOC. If I scale out, or excuse me, range out, there's SESG, flying the approach in this mode while I'm getting vectors. Once we're cleared on the approach and we're told to maintain altitude until established, that's a good time to go one click to the left to get our magenta needles.